Nate's come out with another awesome tool for the swimming community. It's called Swim Nerd Live, and it allows the data and times from your actual scoreboard to be broadcast and viewed in real time on any smart TV, phone, or other device. It has all the information you're looking for: event, heat, lane, name of swimmer, times and places. One click on any device and they're watching your swim meet live in real time. Go to swimpractice.com to learn more. All right, Zach Apple, welcome to my podcast, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. What's going on in your life these days?
Not much. Pretty basic. Swimming mostly is the big time consumer, and then hanging out with my dog and my girlfriend is kind of the other half of that. But pretty simple these days.
You kind of got that look on your face, and maybe it's just the beard or something. Looks like you're in some work right now. Looks like you're doing some work.
For sure. We've been grinding recently, so it'll be interesting. We're going to Texas next week, so we'll see how that plays out for the pro swim.
Oh, nice. Okay, sweet. Yeah. So you feeling good about trials and Olympics? You think these are going to happen for sure?
I mean, right now you just plan like they are going to, and then the decisions are way above my pay grade. So plan like they're going to happen until somebody tells me they're not, and then we'll figure it out from there. But there's nothing I'm going to be able to do to change it if they're going to happen or not. So plan like they're going to, and just let everybody else worry about making sure they do happen.
Just put your head down and be ready when they go, hey?
Exactly.
Nice. Now listen, man, I know it and you know it. You got a crazy story, so I kind of want to go through it a little bit, and then maybe talk about what your plans are for this season as well. But in terms of just how you came about, I mean, you kind of just popped up on the radar one day. You had some circumstances in your life that kind of shifted some things. So just in terms of your swimming itself, where did it start for you?
So I guess I really like my initial introduction to swimming. I was probably, I don't know, 8 or 9. And I had a friend whose dad was the coach of a local summer club team. And he didn't have any other kids his age swimming on the team, and so they wanted to get a relay together for his kid. And so he was like, "Hey, you should come try swim and join the summer team. It's practice once a day just in the summers. It's super fun. It's casual." I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do that." And so we got some guys our age together and got enough guys to make a relay. And so that's kind of where it started, was just that, in the summers, having fun with friends, that summer league environment that I think a lot of people, that's kind of where they get their first introduction to swimming. And then kind of just did that up until high school, just in the summers, just kind of had fun hanging out with friends, running around the local pool in my hometown. And then once I got to high school, joined the high school team, which was 3 months in the winter. So I kind of had those. Now I was doing 3 months in the summer, 3 months in the winter, ish, and ended up making districts in Ohio for high school. Go sectionals, districts, and then state, qualifying for the state meet. I made districts my sophomore year, and I think, I don't know if I was the only non-club swimmer that would make it, that had made it to districts, but I remember I showed up and everybody had the FINA approved stickers on their suits. Everybody was wearing tech suits. I had never worn. I didn't even know what a tech. I didn't know that there was another level of suit that you could wear.
How old were you at this stage?
So I was 16.
Okay.
So sophomore year of high school. I had no idea that there was this whole other realm of swimming that happening. So everybody had tech suits on, so they had the FINA approved stickers on the back of their suit. I was just wearing a regular suit. I was still wearing a jammer, a regular jammer.
The ones you buy at Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, man, I'm missing something here. And my high school coach was like, you should look into trying to get onto a year-round team. I think you could probably be pretty good if you got some serious training in and people who really knew what they were talking about to coach you. And so I found essentially the closest team to where I lived, which was a YMCA team. Great Miami Valley in Ohio was the YMCA, and joined that team the summer after my sophomore year, right after I turned 16. And had some really good guys that I was training with there. A guy named Mark Andrew, he was a 4IMer. Went on to swim at University of Pennsylvania in the Ivy League and set the Ivy League records in the 4IM, 2IM. He ended up being an A final at NCAAs, but he was one of my like main training partners in high school. And there was a few other guys, Mitchell Ellis, Alex Borchers. I mean, a couple of guys that we all just had like, there was a core group of like 4 or 5 of us that were just really committed, really engaged in swimming, and really bought into what our coach was telling us. And we ended up, I think, placing top 10 at YMCA Nationals at the end of my senior year, with only 5 guys qualified to that meet. I mean, there are teams that have 35 people there, and so it was just a really good group of guys that I could kind of bond with, and they were really bought into swimming, so it made it easy for me to like buy in and just go with them and improve really rapidly. And so junior year happens, I make the state meet. I can't remember if I finals my junior year or not, but I made state at least. Go on, had some pretty good swims at YMCA Nationals and stuff. Then start the college recruiting process at the end of my junior year, and I was okay. My junior year, I can't remember what my times were coming out. 21. This is short course yards. 21.3, 21.4, something like that. Like 47 mid and 100 free, and like 141, 142 in the 200 free.
Okay.
So just pretty average coming out of high school or coming out of that junior year. So I was looking at a lot of mid-major schools, and ended up taking 5 trips, 1 to Western Kentucky, 1 to Oakland, which is up in Michigan, 1 to Queens, which is the Division II school, and then 1 to Cleveland State, and then I did take a trip to Ohio State, which is like my biggest trip. Ended up committing to Western Kentucky. I kind of, on my trip there, Claire Donahue, who was a 2012 Olympian, was still training there when I took my trip, and I got to like hold her gold medal from 2012, and I was like, this is it. This is like the dream, right? And I was like, well, they've gotten somebody there. Other schools had done that, but I just had a really good interaction with her and with the coaches there and with the team. And I was super excited. I was like, all right, these people they feel like they know what they're doing. They've gotten people to the next level. I think this is going to be the fit for me. And I committed, midway through my senior year, signed all my letters, my NLIs and stuff in December, and was super excited. Went on to have a really, really good senior year, dropped a bunch of time, ended up going 20.3, 44.5, and like 138 by the end of my senior year. Yeah, so I had a super good senior year, and that happened. That meet was March or April of my senior year, and then probably not 2 weeks later, Western Kentucky decided that they had a Title IX investigation going on with some hazing allegations, and they decided to suspend their program for 5 years. So essentially, they cut their program. It was a death sentence there for that team, and I was kind of left at a spot where I definitely knew I wanted to swim, so I wasn't gonna, go to Western Kentucky. They told us that they would like honor our scholarship offers or whatever, but I was like, I was not gonna go there and just like go to school. I want to swim.
Yeah.
And so since I had such a good senior year, I kind of got bombarded with a lot of emails from a lot of schools and phone calls. And so, I had, maybe 6 or 8 weeks where I was going to try to redo this whole recruiting process with all these schools who are now interested, who weren't really interested before. And so going through that, and I had a guidance counselor who actually had swam at Auburn back when Eddie was the coach.
Oh,
Reese. Wow. Yeah, so a long time ago. And then she was Kirk Grand's mother.
Right.
So, yeah. And so I had known Kirk for a while, and Kirk was getting his PhD at Auburn at the time. And it just so happened that she was like helping me through this, and she was like, let me talk to Kirk, see like if like Auburn is interested at all. And I was like, yeah, if Auburn's interested, I definitely would be like down to like see if that would work out or whatever. And so through Kirk, got to talk to Tyler and you, and just ended up coming down there. I think my family and I drove down on a Friday night, almost overnight, to see the Auburn campus, and we got there on a Saturday morning to watch practice. And I remember walking on deck the first time, and the Auburn pool is super impressive with all banners hanging up. And I can't remember exactly what you guys were doing that morning, but I know like I was watching sprint group with, Bruno Fratis, Marcelo, Kyle Darmody, Duderstadt. I mean, all those guys. And I was like, oh, I mean, this is like the place. This feels like they have all the guys that are doing the stuff that I want to do.
Yeah.
Why would I not come here and try and learn from them and be able to replicate what they're doing? And so, I mean, it felt like almost immediately after I was committed and was pumped. And so that happened in May, I think, of my senior year, May or June. And I went down to Auburn that summer, so early, a semester early, I guess, for that summer semester, and just got to work and just started learning from all those guys. It was awesome to kind of just be in that environment with, Marcelo, Bruno, kind of the guys I listed off. Albert Superos was there when I got there. Roberto Gomez.
What year was this?
That was 2015.
Okay, right. So right before the Olympic year, yeah.
Yeah. And it was such a cool environment to just walk into as a 18-year-old kid with all these guys who were going for the Olympics, training to win medals. We had such a good group. I mean, Renzo, Bruno, Marcelo. I'm trying to think. Subi.
Yeah, it was pretty stacked.
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome, and it was like I was just kind of going in there, deer in the headlights, just like stunned by all these guys, but also, feeling like that I belonged in that group. You had given me a spot on the team, and so I was like, all right, I'm here. I'm gonna take advantage of this. I'm not gonna kind of be timid and try and just like hide behind these guys and let them, live their life, live in the glory. I'm gonna try to be alongside them and kind of trying to take advantage of the situation.
That's actually an interesting point that I want to stop on for a second, because there's a lot of kids come in every year to college and they have a choice of where they go. And a lot of kids choose to go to a place where they're not the best swimmer on the team, like they're going to be a small fish in a big pond type thing,
Sure.
and that's certainly the choice that you made. But in terms of your attitude and mentality, that's entirely your choice as well. So, how were you influenced in terms of what mentality you were going to come in on or with, or was it just a no-brainer for you to be like, I'm just going to take this in and I'm going to, what was your mentality? You tell me.
Yeah. I was lucky in high school. My club coach, his name is Chris Bushelman. He's out at Swim RVA now in Virginia. But he was super big on, like, we would have goal meetings at the beginning of the season, and we would give him our goals and then he would kind of rebuttal with the things that he thought that we could do. And he wasn't afraid to set these lofty goals for us. My senior year, I was kind of really the only true sprinter on our team. And he was like, we need to have at least 2 guys split 19 on this 2 free relay at the end of the year. And like, we would have never thought about that. And ended up, we did. I split 19.6, and I think one of our other guys split 19.8. Mark, actually, the guy who swims 4 a.m. And so he was just super big on like not limiting us and like setting these pretty high lofty goals. So I think that kind of led me into being able to like think like, man, I can really, do whatever I set out to my mind to do. I remember we had a conversation kind of right when we were going through this whole second recruiting process, and I was talking through to all these schools. He was like, wherever you go, I want you to make sure that you still swim the 2 free. He said, because I think you can go 131, 130 point, which would be at the time would have been the American record. And I had just broken 140 that year. I mean, I was not like, I went 138 that year for the first time under 140. And so he was just super big on being like, dude, you're better than you are. You can do these things. And so I think that set me up well to kind of go into Auburn thinking, I can be with these guys. I can, I'm here for a reason, and that reason is to get better and to learn from these guys. And I think that I could be able to hang with them, maybe not in training every day, but hang around them, learn how they treat themselves, how they talk to each other, how they talk about swimming, how they approach practice, what they do on deck before we get in the water every day. And so I kind of went in with an open mind, but not thinking that I couldn't be there, with them.
Was there ever a moment where you felt like you were just getting beat down at first, where you were just getting dominated? Because I mean, you're still a 138 200 freestyler, you know, and you're swimming against some of the best in the world.
For sure. I think a lot of people put a lot of value into like times and stuff that they're going in practice. And I was never like a super great trainer, and I'm still not to this day. I'm not like out of this world, you know, dropping crazy times in practice that some people are able to do. And so I never put like that much value into, you know, if someone was beating me in practice. I put a lot more value into the effort, and I knew that every day I was going in, you know, giving it everything that I had. And I think one of the things that I learned after I left Auburn when I came here was we were pretty low volume, maybe one of the lowest volume programs probably in the country. And I think that I learned that my attitude of like giving it everything I have, every effort, is why I was able to be successful with you and the Auburn guys. Was because a lot of people come in and think, oh, I'll like kind of just go hard here, or I'll try and like take some rest off here. And I came in and I was like, everything that was on the paper, on the practice, or that you told me to do, I was going to do it to 100%, because now this is hindsight looking back. I wasn't thinking of this at the time, but we weren't doing very much. And so everything that we did do was super important, and it had to be to a T and exactly what was asked. And so that was something that I had to bring in.
Yeah. I mean, you picked up on that, and that's kind of the way I like to coach too, is like, I want to do just what we need to do and nothing more, nothing less. You know, I try not to do too little. I try not to do too much, but the stuff that I ask you to do, I want you to do it well. And you picked up on that real early, and had that mentality from the start. And maybe you saw some of the other guys, you know, who are a little bit older than you in the program, you know, going through that process, like maybe a Marcelo Cheragini or someone like that, who's having success, who's just giving me the efforts that I need and nothing more, you know, and you definitely embrace that. So in terms of your growth at Auburn, just initially, you know, where did you feel like you made the most gain in the couple of years that you were there?
I think, I mean, obviously I didn't lift much before I got to Auburn, and PK does an awesome job at, you know, making sure that we're getting stronger in the right ways. But one of the big things, I think, my freshman year, I think Kyle Darmody, we were just talking about, you know, whatever, and he was like, how many strokes are you taking in warm up every day? And I was like, I have no idea. I'm literally just getting in and swimming. And he was like, you just need to take like whatever you're doing, like look at what you're doing and just try and take one less stroke, and, you know, every lap in warm up. And I think that kind of set me up to have really good distance per stroke, which now I think is something that I have a little bit slower tempo than I think a lot of guys do. I think maybe not solely because of that, but I think that set me up to have really good distance per stroke and be able to lengthen out that way. And I think that's something that helped me a lot. So now I'm taking, you know, I do sets, 3 kicks, eight strokes, you know, the whole set for like a threshold set or something. And I'm just super long and able to hold that together really well. And I think that stemmed kind of back from that freshman year conversation with Kyle, honestly.
Yeah.
But man, I don't really know what to attribute, you know, the gains to exactly, you know, a stroke change or something. I remember when I came to Auburn, I was super short, and we did a lot of work on like lengthening out, just like we just kind of like what I talked about, but just like opening up, you know, more of that straight arm sprinting, but still being able to go back for the kind of more gallopy stroke for the 200. But my progressions at Auburn were crazy, because like you said, I came in not great, you know, average at best. And I think my freshman year, I was the only guy on the team to qualify only freshman to qualify for NCs on the team. And then I was like one of the top freshmen at NCAs to finish the 2 free. I remember I had a huge 2 free at NCAs. I was in heat 1 and just dropped a ton of time, and barely missed the final, which was crazy for me as a freshman. But yeah, I don't really know exactly what to attribute to.
Well, tell me this, in terms of being able to swim the 200, the 100, and the 50 all equally well. I mean, you could, I wouldn't really put you in a box in any one of those 3 categories. You can swim them well. So how have you managed over the years to, train enough for the 200, but still have top end speed for the 50.
Yeah. I think a big thing is that guys do put themselves into a box, right? They're like, oh, if I'm going to do the 200, I can't do the 50 anymore. Right? It's not going to work. And I was super open to being able to do all three. Mentally, I was just like bought into like, I mean, especially in college, it was like, this is what the team needs me to do. And so I'm going to buy into doing all three at a really high level because that's where we're going to get the most points out of, and that's how it's going to help the relays the most. And so I think a big thing is that guys don't like give themselves the opportunity to be able to be good at all three. They kind of think, oh, I'm only a 50, 100 and I can't get up to the 200, or I'm only 100, 200. I can't get down to the 50 if I'm going to do a good 200. And I never had that thought. I always thought, yeah, I'm just going to do all three. It's not like a question. It's not going to be like oh, how am I going to like make sure that I can do this and this? And that's the big thing that I think was a benefit to me, was that I didn't ask a lot of questions about training. I wasn't like, I need more of this, or I don't want to do as much of this or whatever. I think a lot of people kind of go in, especially when they're younger. Now I do have a little bit more say in what I do on the day-to-day basis, but I have a lot more knowledge about like what I need, I think. But especially freshman, sophomore, junior year, I was, my mentality was, I'm going to show up and do what you asked me to, because you're on deck for the reason I'm in the pool. Probably because you've been around this for a bit longer than I have, and you probably know what I need more than I do.
Yeah.
That was kind of my mentality just through those first few years in college, was just like, they know what I need, what I want to do, and so they're going to put me in a spot where I'm going to be successful.
Well, what's the most satisfying race for you? Where do you get the most pleasure? The 200, 100, or the 50?
100 long course is just the bread and butter. I mean, I feel like I've gotten to a point where I like don't even need to like think about it anymore. It's on autopilot almost. It's like so not relaxing, but it's like so nice to like walk up behind the blocks and just know, like, man, I know exactly how this is going to play out. I've done it so many times. I know my strategy to a T. I know exactly, where I'm going to be at with this many kicks, this many strokes, this, hit the turn, wall, dolphin kicks off the wall. It just like feels like it's just a perfectly, rehearsed routine at this point. And it's so nice to be able to just like walk up and just like know how it's going to go.
That's interesting. I like that. Would you mind sharing some of that with us in terms of what you feel like you have managed to understand and put into practice and now feel comfortable with? I mean, what are the things that were uncomfortable for you initially that you feel like you've got a level of comfort in now with the 100 free long course?
Yeah. I think initially I was, I thought that it was more like the 100 yards. The 100 yards is a little bit more of a get up and go from the beginning type of race. But I think the 100 long course, that first 50, I think if you can get out fast enough, you can really take it, not easy, but it can be smooth on the way out. I mean, Sure. It can be just nice and controlled. I mean, just have good kicks, good rhythm. And then once you hit that wall, that second 50 is, just a back end 50, which if you've done it in training enough, you do so many back end 50s. I remember in 2017, the year that I made my first national team, we were doing back end 50s. Like, I mean, it felt like every day. And I just knew, like, when I hit that wall, I was going to come off, and like, I just knew what I was going to come home. I was going 25-1s, 25-2s all the time in practice. And so I knew I was going to be able to come home in 25-1, 25-2. And so it's just so nice being able to, just have that confidence where you can take it out smooth and know that you're going to come back.
What was that breakout meet you had? It was in nationals, right? What was that?
Yeah,
swim?
2017. 2017. U.S. nationals. It was like the world champ trials and Indy.
Yeah, you were kind of like lowly ranked at that point.
Yeah,
too, right?
yeah. So I made Olympic trials in 16. That was Olympic trials was my first like senior national level meet in 16. And I remember watching the parade go around. Like they parade the Olympic team at the end of the meet. We all stayed and watched the meet, or watched the parade. And I remember sitting in the stands and being like, no one, like, I didn't expect to make the team. No one like thought I had a shot. Like I didn't at that point. I think I had just gone 49.4 a couple weeks before to qualify for the meet, first time breaking 50. And that was a huge, huge swim for me. and I think I went a little bit slower at trials, but I remember sitting in the stands and being like, man, this doesn't feel right. Like I feel like I should be down there on that parade team. And so from 2016 to 2017, that was like kind of in my mind. Like I want to make a team. I don't want to sit at nationals and watch another team, like get paraded around the pool while I just sit in the stands. And so that whole year, that was kind of the focus. And I was ranked 49.4 was my entry time. Still from that previous year's best time. And prelims of the 100 free, I think Caeleb was the top seed in the heat. I don't know if we weren't in the final heat, but Caeleb was in the top seed. I was next to Caeleb in lane 5. I think Held was in lane 3. So both of those guys had made the Olympic team the previous year. I think Murphy might have been in the heat. And these were, I had no, but like up to that point, you would have thought I had no business being in the heat. And I remember flipping at the 50, and I was right even with them, if not a little bit ahead. I think I flipped in 22.9, which at the time I think my best 50 was 22.6 or 7. And so I ended up going 22 flat later on in the meet, but at that time that was still my best time. And came home in 25.2 and went 48.1 in the morning. Dropped from 49.4 and was the top seed going into finals. And that was crazy. There was so many articles that were written, like an apple a day keeps the competition away, or like who is Zach Apple, like I bet you can't guess who the top seed for the 100 free is, or stuff like that. And
are you reading this stuff?
I'm seeing the headlines. People are sending it to me.
Sure.
Because it's fun. I'm not really looking too much into the articles, but it is fun when that happens, the first time you break out. To see all the people, you get the recognition, you get the not notoriety, but people start to know your name and see who you are. It is fun.
So you went from what, 9.4 to 8.1?
Yeah.
Dang, that's a drop.
Yeah. And then at finals, I went on to get 4th to make the world champs team, to make the relay. I think Nathan and Caeleb got 1st and 2nd at like 7.9 and 8.0 maybe, and I went a little bit slower at finals. But I think in that moment, I just wasn't really ready to be the top seed at a U.S. Nationals mentally. Obviously, physically, I was there. I'd done it. But it was a little bit of a shock to the system to kind of get in there and be in the ready room with all the guys who had made the Olympic team the previous year, and me, who didn't even make the semifinal, be the top seed. It just felt a bit overwhelming. And I think it kind of got to me a bit. And that's why I couldn't really replicate a swim at night. But yeah, that was.
Now, what's last summer? You went faster, right? You went 47 for the first time, right?
Yes, yeah. So in 19 at
19.
World, yeah, because nothing happened last summer.
Yeah, nothing happened last
summer. Yeah. So in 19 World University Games, I led off the relay in 7.8, 47.8, I think. And that was awesome. I think I went 48.0 in the individual. I won the 100 free at WUGS, went 48.0, a little bit slower, and then went on to world champs and had some pretty good swims there. It was 46.8 on that relay.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've definitely done a good job of progressing every year. I think I have gotten a little bit faster every year, and then in December of 19, I ended up going 47.6 at US Open, I guess, in Atlanta.
Nice. Well, 47.6. So that's, maybe a year and a half ago, let's say. In terms of the time it's been since then, that 47.6, what have you done specifically, you think, that has made you physically a better athlete? So, that person went 47.6 and this person now wants to go 46, obviously. So What have you done, you think, specifically to make improvements there?
Yeah. So I kind of mentioned earlier at Auburn, I was in the sprint group full time. And then I transferred to Indiana my senior year and kind of got shifted into like a middle distance, middle sprint group. So I was doing quite a bit more volume, a little more aerobic stuff, kind of focusing more on the 200 there for a couple of years. And since we've come back from the quarantine or like time out of the water for COVID, I've kind of transitioned back into a more sprint based, program. And man, I am loving it. It's been awesome. I kind of got to a point where I think I just can't handle all the volume and all the aerobic. And I was getting to a point, kind of right before everything shut down, where I was like, man, I am not enjoying going to practice, not by any fault of anyone's. I just like don't think it was I couldn't keep it up. I wasn't really enjoying going to practice. I wasn't, looking forward to showing up and doing the work. And then everything kind of shut down. And so I was like kind of getting burned out anyway a little bit. So I'm just going to take some time off. So I did not touch the water for 3 months.
Oh, wow.
So no pools or anything. And then came back and kind of slowly built back into it. Right around June-ish, early June. But yeah, I think kind of being back in that sprint group has really brought a lot of life back into swimming for me. And I've been enjoying it so much, man. It's so fun to be back into a group with it that just likes to get after it. And John Long is running that group here at Indiana, and it's just been super fun.
Nice. Did you have to have a sit down with Ray, when you came back and was like, look, I really want to get back into sprint group?
Yeah, for sure. Kind of with all the coaches, because I was mainly based out of Corey Chitwood's group previously. And again, it's no fault of Corey's or anything. It's just like, I just don't think that it was for me after, I'd done it for almost 2 years at that point. Because I was with Mike Westfall before that. But so COVID kind of hit. I was like, I'm taking time off. There was a group of people who were driving up to Indy every day to swim in a backyard pool at someone's house. And it's a little over an hour away. And I was like, I wasn't enjoying driving 5 minutes to the pool. I'm definitely not going to drive an hour and 20 minutes or whatever. And so I just like kind of checked out. I got a dog, went on lots of hikes, just kind of refreshed, got back into it. We got into a pool about 30 minutes up the road, an outdoor pool over the summer. And that was super fun to get back outside and swim outdoors again. And so I was doing singles for about 10 weeks, and we started doing some time trials, long course time trials once we got back into the IU pool here. And I ended up going 48.5 and 100 free from a dive after 10 weeks of only singles. And I think that gave me a lot of leverage to be like, all right, I feel like I can move into a group where I don't need quite as much. Obviously, I can still race fast, swim fast with a little bit less volume, a little bit less aerobic work, because I was able to prove it. Then I think that did give me a little bit of ground to stand on with wanting to switch back into a more sprint-based program. So yeah.
So you're finding now that what's improving? Your top end's improving, your back end. Where you find improvement?
Yeah. I've done a lot of work on off the walls and off the start underwater. Done a ton. I think that kind of started when Jonty was here, Jonty Skinner. He kind of explained dolphin kicking to me in a way that hadn't really been explained to me, about using your hands up at the top as like a leverage point to kind of round out and open up the shoulders that way. And maybe it had been explained to me that way, but he just said it one way that clicked in my brain. And it really changed the way I thought about dolphin kicking, and it's really helped me a lot. And I've kind of just like carried that over into working with John and doing underwater stuff, almost daily drills and things like that, about working that mobility in the upper back.
So instead of being stiff in your dolphin kick, you're actually being a little bit more flexible.
Yeah. So like a little bit more like arch and hollow out in the chest and upper back.
As you're kicking.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And using like your hands all at the top, almost as a leverage point to get that movement.
Interesting.
Yeah, and really heard it explained that way to me, and it just made something click in my brain where I was able to like progress really quickly, and I've gotten a lot better at underwaters. But yeah, now we're doing, it's just kind of back to a lot more drill work, a lot more skill work, which yeah, like I said, when I was with you, we did a lot of that, and I buy into it, and I do it all, and I do it right, and I do it with intention. And when you do it that way, I think it does work, and it does have a big benefit. So yeah,
I love that word, by the way. That's one of my favorite words. Intention is, and that's what you always did. You always came in with the intention to get better, and I love that. And I think that's such a lesson for anyone. Is if you're looking for improvement and you want it to happen quickly, be intentional. come in and buy into what you're doing, and find ways within each push off, each turn, each drill, each skill, each rep to be as good as you can. And that was the attitude that you've always had, which I think has helped you be successful. And you've named probably about 7 or 8 coaches that you've had in the last just 5 years. So it's like, it doesn't matter who's coaching Zach Apple, you're going to be successful, you know?
I think that's a big thing that people kind of get caught up in, and is they get too focused on, you know, kind of like I said earlier, I wasn't asking to get more of a certain thing or less of a certain thing. I was there because, you know, I believed in the coaching staff and I believed in the training, whatever. And it didn't matter what I was doing in the water. I was going to buy in 100%. And that's kind of something that I did when I transferred from Auburn to Indiana. I didn't drop Auburn because I cherished my time at Auburn immensely. Yeah. I absolutely loved it. It was like amazing. But for that senior year, I was like, all right, I'm going to have to buy in full in on Indiana because at that time we were planning on vying for a national championship. And I was like, if we're going to do this, I am going to go all in on Indiana, because it's not going to help me to try and, you know, hold on to these memories or these things that I did at Auburn, even though they were amazing. And I absolutely loved my time, and I loved the guys, and I loved the staff, and I loved, you know, everything about it. For that senior year, I just had to buy in all in on the training, the staff, the team, if we were going to have even a shot at winning a national championship, which ended up we didn't. We had some off swims at NCAAs, and that ended up getting third. But that's kind of the mindset you have to have, is when you go into training, you just have to buy in to, no matter what you're doing, just if you mentally believe in what you're doing, it doesn't really matter what the work is.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Listen, tell me this about this year. You know, most people, and I've been part of this conversation too, and most people around the world believe it's a 2-horse race in terms of Caeleb and Kyle Chalmers. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, they can think whatever they want. They're not going to be in the pool, so but yeah, obviously I'm putting myself in that race. It does me no good to think that I'm going to get third at the Olympics. You know, I'm definitely in my mind planning on winning that race. Of course, there's trials and everything I have to get through before then, and I'm planning on winning that one too. Whether it ends up playing out that way or not doesn't really matter. It's the preparation and the mindset going into it that is the biggest thing.
So right now you're preparing to swim 46 in your mind. That's
absolutely.
Yeah. Have you split that race out at all in terms of how you could possibly do it?
Yeah. I think I need to probably be out 22.4, 22.5, and I need to be back like 24.4.
And that doesn't seem unreasonable for someone that's got top end speed like you and now has developed some underwaters, and then also can come home like you because you can swim at 200. That doesn't seem unreasonable at all.
Certainly not. That is like the goal time. So it would be strange to think it was unreasonable if that's what I'm planning on doing. And so, yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like it's the cards are there. They just need to put them all together.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people would think of it two ways. You know, if you think of that front end at going out in 22.4, you've got to go, you know, like it's like, I gotta really work that. Whereas you have the comfort level and the speed to be able to make that fairly comfortable. Actually, you could get out nice and big on that. What have you done, in terms of your stroke itself? How have you balanced your stroke out? I mean, obviously you don't want to be too, arm heavy. You don't want to be too leg heavy. How have you managed to balance your stroke out?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I am more leg based than arm based. Just because I have a slightly slower tempo than some of the other guys. But
what are you doing with your arms? Like, what are you thinking of? Are you keeping a complete straight arm over the top? Like, are you windmilling it? How are you doing it?
No. Yeah. So for 100 free, is that bend arm, stroke, more of almost a 200 stroke.
Dog. Sorry.
All good. Yeah, almost more of a 200 stroke with a little bit higher tempo. But yeah, definitely not straight arm. But I feel like I kind of just takes care of itself, just from training, you know, just kind of falling back on the habits that you form in training. I don't really focus too much on not trying to kill my arms or my legs.
Now, are you thinking of anything in particular? Do you have a word in your head as you're going down the pool and coming back on the pool? Like, what are you thinking during the race?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to make sure that that first 50, I'm not killing myself. Don't really have anything that I'm like repeating to myself or anything. Just really just making sure I'm not overkicking that first 50, because I think that's something that's easy to do, because you get out, especially in a race that is going to be as exciting as an Olympic trials or an Olympic final. It'd be easy to get out, too fast and burn your legs out super early. So I guess I am on the way down, just thinking about keeping the rhythm good with the arms and making sure I'm not over kicking that first 50. And then, once you're off the wall, it's a all out horse race on the way home.
Do you know what the speeds feel like now? Like, could you flip in 22.5 and know exactly like, yep, that was 22.5 on the dot?
About ish. I'm not really the greatest at like a pay, like if I'm trying to hit, like if they tell me to hit a certain time in practice, I'm not the greatest at like knowing exactly what I'm going to hit every 50 of a pace set or something. But yeah, there's you obviously get like a feel for how fast you're going out.
Yeah. Now, in terms of others like you, who do you think are the other threats or potential relay members for the US this year?
Yeah, it is so stacked this year.
Yeah,
I think we've had maybe eight guys under 48 so far.
that's incredible, isn't it?
In the past 2 years. Obviously, Caeleb, myself, Blake, who I train with every day, is going to be super good as well. Ryan Held had a huge breakout swim in 2019. Maxime had a great swim. Tate has been swimming really well. Tate Jackson out of Texas. He's been swimming super well. I'm trying to think of who else. Dean obviously is always a threat. He was on my relay at Wugs and split like 47-1, I think, at Wugs. So he definitely has the talent to be there. Yeah, but it all comes down to the day. So it's kind of a toss up until you get there.
Are you doing mental preparation work in terms of what are you doing to put yourself in that moment at Olympic trials to qualify for the team?
Yeah. So I've been doing like a little bit of visualization stuff, just trying to get prepared for, well, now it's kind of tough because I'm not sure what the fan situation is going to be. So I don't know if I want to, I guess kind of have to prepare for both, but just like either being ready for both ways is the best way to do it, but just being ready for walking out in that final, which I've never been in a semifinal at Olympic trials. I've only been in the stands watching it. So I do have some experience of knowing what it's going to be like and the production of it all. And luckily I've been to a few world championships and been in finals there on relays, but just kind of, visualizing the crowd and then also potentially visualizing an empty arena, which would be absolutely wild. Especially if it ends up being no fans. It sounds like it is going to be in Omaha if we end up having it. And if it ends up being no fans, that would be wild to walk out into a quiet arena. It'd be so strange. I think one thing that ISL did this past season was they filled the stands with lights, and so you couldn't really see up there. So it didn't really matter if there was people there or not. And it was so loud with all the music and stuff that felt pretty normal. But an arena that big as Olympic trials is in, that would be pretty tough.
Yeah. Now, listen, how long do you plan on doing this? Do you see this as just a first Olympics for you and want to do multiples, or how are you looking at it?
Yeah, for sure. Right now I'm planning on going until I'm not making teams, is my plan. But so with the ISL coming up, I'm super hopeful that kind of takes off and gets going. I've really enjoyed the past 2 seasons, especially this past season. I kind of liked the camp style of this past season, where we got to be with our team for an extended period of time, opposed to the first season where you only got to be with your team for 4 or 5 days, at max. And you kind of got sent back to your corners of the world. It was fun to get to know your team and kind of know the people you're racing with and for. It kind of gives it more of that college feel and more of a team vibe, which was super fun because it just makes it so much easier to get up and race for people that you like actually know about. What they're working on in training, and what their story is, what they're struggling with, what they're working on. It just makes the whole experience better, I feel like. So I did enjoy the camp style of ISL, and it sounds like it might be going back to something similar this next season. I know nothing's been set yet, but yeah, I'm excited for the ISL and excited for the next few years for sure. I'm definitely not planning on being done after this.
Good stuff, man. Well, I'm a big fan of yours, and got I'm a believer too. I've seen what you can do. I've seen your talent, man. I've seen your work ethic, and I've seen you as a racer. So I certainly am not the type of person that's just thinking this is a 2-horse race at all. And I'm excited for what you're going to do in the next few months, man. So good luck with everything. All right.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right, you too.
See ya.